Well, shit, I already opened it.
Let's taste it on camera.
Are you sure?
This is magical.
Cheers to that, brother.
This is what America was built on.
You said that you're done with acting. Are you really done?
A big thank you to our sponsors for making this show possible.
Well, Ian, it's good to have you, man. So
Good to be here, brother.
This is the Quaker. I just want to give you a little toast, man, to our friendship, the growth, the brothers bond, and dude,
to
you
too,
all,
man. To this show and your whole world.
Thank you.
Thank you, my brother.
And you got to know. Oh, damn, that's good. So this is rye, pisco, lemon, fruit preserves, raspberry, cherry, strawberry, red currant. It's delicious.
Lot of layers in there.
So,
and that rye spice with all that sweet.
you know,
And sour.
it's been amazing for me to watch your growth and like how much you have jumped into the whiskey game. But one of the things that has come out with you recently is that you said that you're done with acting. Are you really done?
I mean, I left the business to build these two companies, raise my kids, and launch these 3 films. Kiss the Ground, Common Ground, and Groundswell. I don't know how I would be able to find enough or deploy a team to shoot a show or film. I did just get the rights back to V-Wars from Netflix.
Oh, no shit.
Congrats. Thank you. I love Netflix. They've been amazing partners with Kiss the Ground, but clawing rights back from a streamer is something that makes you question life.
What's that process like?
I waited 36 months. So
Wow.
we sat tight for 36 months. If we do it, we're now going to do it right.
Yeah.
A very nuanced, socially relevant, and I don't mean like some BS like coastal elite bludgeoning people over the head with social issues. I mean like the cool stuff. Layering in a lot of history and stuff in there, but make it cool, make it sexy. Like if I could do like a Handmaid's Tale, just a lot faster and sexier, but with vampires, I'll do it.
I love it.
But we got to launch these films, and we're going to be on streaming with Common Ground. It'll change the way you see the world.
Well, I know you're so passionate about regenerative agriculture, and like you've been talking about that a lot lately. But I was really curious as to whether or not you are truly like hanging up your hat on acting, because
I think so. I mean, if we can get the show off the ground and do it, I'll do it. But I just don't know how to make that work. I mean, it's.
Do you feel like where kind of things were kind of left with like Vampire Diaries? Like did that sully you a little bit with acting, because you're streamed, you're the number 10 TV show of all time.
It's crazy.
And yet you don't get a dime for any of that, of the streaming rights and everything.
It's crazy. Yeah, it's a wild thing. And by the way, you know me. You and I have known each other long enough. I never discuss business stuff or talk about money or anything, but it is one of those wild. Because Paul and I realized this. We went, wait, this is some crazy shit. In 2009, there were 68 television pilots made. Only 4 of them were SAG contracts, were the Screen Actors Guild. That were those like big, strong, ironclad contracts. 64 of them were AFTRA, which is the American Federation of Television and Radio Artists. Great union, now SAG is all together with them. But they did a deal that was, well, it wasn't as ironclad.
Not as strong.
And there was a new media clause in there that was a streaming clause, meaning streaming was brand new. No one knew anything about it. I want to say in 2009, Netflix was still in DVDs.
Yeah, that's right.
And so we didn't know what was coming down the pipeline. And so Vampire Diaries was the first show to hit as big as it was, where the lead cast me, Paul, and Nina, and a couple others, got no syndication after episode 100. We got 0 syndication. So everyone else made $1 billion, and we got absolutely nothing. So you sit there and you go, okay, this is just what's happening. We didn't get syndication, but you know what we got? We got a story about 2 brothers who bonded on screen over bourbon, and a story of 2 brothers who bonded off screen over bourbon, and went out and then created basically the biggest bourbon launch ever in history. But it's really amazing company that integrates regenerative agriculture into whiskey. And then that platform also allowed me to launch Kiss the Ground, Common Ground, and we'll launch Groundswell. So it put us in this huge place, just without maybe the dollar amount that most, the Friends cast and everyone else had. And it's like, so what? Keep going. Pivot. Build around it. Build off of it. Quit bitching and complaining. We were never doing that, but most people would, and we just said, no, man, we're doing this.
You definitely, I would say too, like for the whiskey world, you are a change of pace for the celebrities, if you will, coming into the spirits category. Like, not only did you embrace it, I mean, Ian, I would put you up there as among the best blenders in the business. Not just
thanks, brother.
Not just the celebrity side, but like you are a really, really good blender, and you take it seriously. And
thanks,
I've talked to all kinds of people, and you're not putting the front on. You literally came here with an entire bag of stuff to taste with me. So which let's break something out from you. But
dude, that makes me emotional, dude. Hearing that from you and this journey, obviously, as you know, it is not easy.
No.
But this business that you are literally your name and your energy is synonymous now with quality, nuance. People ask, they want to know what Fred Minnick thinks. It's just amazing what you've been able to build. And so to be sitting here with you is a dream. And it's crazy that we're on the bottling line right now, bottling our regenerative whiskey that we said we would do, from the beginning. And it's very special. Like, I know Pinhook has some stuff they're doing, but at this level, obviously the Samuels family has a bunch of regenerative whiskey in barrels, certified regenerative. It's going to be ready in 6 years. I bottled this 6 hours ago. Yeah. So it's like, this is special. So the long and short of it is, most of these big brands have whiskey that's been sitting in barrels for 5 years, 10 years. You look at a Pappy Van Winkle. Yeah, it's one mash bill, but it's been sitting in a barrel for 12 years in Lot B or in this amazing Rick House or this place. So as a new whiskey maker, yeah, of course, stuff I laid down 4 years ago is now 4 years old. Stuff I bought 4 years ago that was 4 years old is now 8 years old. Stuff I bought that was 6 years old is now 10 years old. Yeah. But how do I create a whiskey that's 3 years old, but that tastes like it's 6, 8, or 10 years old? Basically, the idea is how do you get that whiskey to taste like it's been in barrels for double that life?
This is an ancient age, 6-year-old, 86 proof. This would have came from what is now known as the Buffalo Trace Distillery, mid-60s. And
these bottles are they're hard to find. You can't go to your local liquor store and find them.
Oh, look, this was Japanese.
Yeah, there's an export. So I got this on Baxis, Baxis.co, and you get on there and they have a bunch of these old bottles. You can buy them, and you can't find these bottles, if you walk into a liquor store. So I love this platform. You go in there and you can also see what it's sold for in the past. The pricing's really good. But it's
called Baxis?
Baxis, BAXUS.co. It actually, I'd say it's like a place too. It's where collectibles are kind of traded in the spirit space.
You know what it almost smells like? The bouquet of like a Remy XO.
It's got a lot of that A lot of that sweet vibe to it.
That sweet cognac vibe.
Yeah. But my point to bringing this out to you, this is 86 proof. And so you can get a lot of incredible flavors at those lower proof points. And they used to, you know.
They used to.
We've got
Wow.
we're in such a trend of 100 and above, and that's where people are putting their best barrels toward because that's what the market wants.
It is what the market wants, but I'll tell you, I call it a. Paul and Spencer and I were talking about this. We call it a high proof mechanism. It's a mechanism to move a tremendous amount of whiskey because that's what people want. And I get it. They're looking for something new and different because the flavors bring, there is a little more flavor within that high proof. But it's so funny in the wine space, that higher alcoholic content is typically going to diminish a lot of the nuance of that spirit or of that wine. Whereas now we're getting, you just nailed this. This is a fruit superhighway.
It's incredible.
Almost like, so I mean, you live in Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
You know what that's like when all that fruit comes, Or you think about your grandma growing up. You always had the fruit bowl on the table. I grew up, my grandparent, my family's French, right? So my grandmother was French. So I always grew up with, you had a fruit bowl on the table, which you would have had in France, and you always had butter with bread and a little thing of salt, which in Louisiana it was always caked up and stuff because it looked funny because it was all the humidity. So she would put rice in it. So you'd have to make sure you didn't get the rice, and you would put it over the bread and the butter. But this is the fruit that would come from that bowl.
Isn't that a beautiful thing about tasting is that it really is a connection to, it's a connection to your time. It's your tasting, the aromas, they're always connected to something in your life. And that's why tasting is such a beautiful thing.
Well, you're the one that taught me that.
That's right.
You're the one that told me that on air. When we were, You're the one, because we were tasting our 80 proof. And I said, you smell that banana bread on there? And you go, what's your connection to banana bread? Why? And I said, well, I grew up in a very poor Louisiana family. So we made my grandparents and my mom, they made banana bread, and you'd slather butter on it, or even lard that my grandmother made in the winter. It was just energy. Mm-hmm. Lard with a little salt, or butter with a little salt, and banana bread, because it was a tremendous amount of energy unlocked. It didn't cost anything.
All glassware for the Fred Minnick Show was given to us by Whiskey, including the cocktail glasses and the tasting glasses. You can get your own. Go to Whiskey.com. That's Viski.com. Enter Fred20. That's Fred20 at checkout to get 20% off of your Whiskey glass. Cheers. Yeah, so this is an Old Crow Traveler. Also got this on Baxis, and you were asking about pricing earlier. I paid less on Baxis for this than I did in a private purchase not too long ago. So I actually got this for very little in comparison to to some of my past buys, because the Old Crow from National Distillers back in the day.
Yeah.
This is my favorite brand of all time. I'm actually working on a book on it about my connection to Old Crow, but it's not particularly this one, but this is one of their top-notch products.
Dude, this program is so cool. Look at this bottle.
Isn't that?
Let me see this thing right here. It's like you.
And the whole point was like you could fit it in your jacket, right? You fit it in your jacket,
Like on your way to the airplane. Back when you could carry on.
Wow, damn. So this is from. When is this from? This Old
so this
Crow?
this would be from the 60s. This was a very popular product in the late 60s, early 70s.
If you think about this, Old Crow. By the way, I just want you to know, ancient age. You want to talk about bold? Here's a guy. If you can find a better bourbon, buy it.
That's a slogan.
On the back of the bottle. I don't think I'd say that now.
People were.
In the age of Instagram, you can just go find a better bottle.
Yeah, people were buying vodka back then too. They were trying very hard to maintain their customers. Ancient Age had a very weird ad campaign back then. It did not work out.
Didn't work out.
Did not work out.
Why? What happened?
Vodka. Vodka came in and cleaned bourbon's clock in the
Yeah,
60s.
so in the '60s, right?
Yeah.
That's when you had the martini. Remember, Shampoo and all these movies. You know, vodka. You had moved out of that post-world era, which was like boots on the ground, salt of the earth, working hard,
Yeah.
TV dinners, all that stuff, and it started to become. Let's just get more refined. Let's refine.
And one of the things about vodka.
But did the vodka come out of Europe, or did it come out of the or Russia? Did it come out of the
Yeah,
United
it was.
States?
I mean, it was a Russian. I mean, it was a Russian influence in the late '50s. But distillers would end up making it here. But vodka didn't have a legal definition in the States until 1958, and the bourbon distillers didn't even think much about it. But the generation, the baby boomers, or what they were calling them, the hippie generation, you know, they just didn't want to drink what their parents did, and they gravitated to vodka.
Wow.
So, which is one of the reasons why I say vodka sucks. Let's take what do you got? Let's taste one of yours here now.
So, our regen line, we're on the line right now as we speak, which I'm really proud to say. I'm excited. Down in Statesville, North Carolina.
Right on.
Which, oddly enough, as you know, at the turn of the century, something like 90% of all whiskey bottled in the United States was bottled in Statesville.
There's a lot of incredible whiskey culture in the Carolinas. Mostly, it's moonshine culture now, but prior to Prohibition, they had a lot of good whiskey distillers.
And it's wild because Prohibition actually started there.
Yeah, there, Maine, Tennessee came on early. There was basically wherever you had like a Puritan influence or a Baptist influence, they were strong. The Catholic areas, like where you grew up, though, on the other hand.
Catholic areas were like, how do we get more of this stuff? So this has been exposed to a little heat, I just realized. I meant to put this into my office 2 days ago. And honestly, I think now because of how condensed these sugars are in these two, we might just skip this.
It smells good, though.
It's a beautiful nose, right?
Yeah.
85 proof.
So, you know what
So
it smells like to me? Sugar cane.
it's got a little bit of that. It's like you just think kind of darker sugar, right? Instead of like a processed white sugar.
Cheers, man.
Cheers, bro. Appreciate you, man.
Appreciate you.
So, 85 proof Brothers Bond. Sam and I selected these barrels. I did chill filter it. But it's got a lot of beautiful nuance in it. It just does.
Wow. When are you gonna let me pick one of your barrels?
Well, that was the whole point.
For like a barrel pick. For
So-
marzipan.
We need to do it. We're going to do it
Are
together.
you opening it up for barrel picks now?
Yeah, we're going to do it. I want the first one to be with you and me.
We're in.
Yeah, let's do it.
We're in.
Working through this whole regenerative thing, I've really grown.
By the way, that was delicious.
It's delicious, right?
It's
85
delicious.
proof. If you,
Yeah.
we're tasting them after these probably 50
Yeah.
year old, 50, no,
Yeah,
actually
but I
longer
can-
than that. I'm talking 60,
Yeah.
70-year-old whiskeys.
But that doesn't mean anything. Like a palate knows a palate knows.
Yeah.
And that, you know what it tastes like to me? It tastes like French toast, maple syrup. Yeah. It's like a.
But Brothers Bond at 85 proof is going to be that perfect sweet spot. So check this out, man. This is 114.9, so we'll
Okay.
jump into cask. Cheers to you, brother. Thank you for trying this. I love this
I
wheat.
skipped. I started drinking before we toasted. And will you bottle this at cask strength? Mm-hmm. Damn, man. It's delicious.
I sent some of this to my old man. My dad's 83. You know, I learned about whiskey from my dad.
What's it like to have a brother's bond with your dad?
It gives me chills. A number of months ago, I was in in the other LA, the original LA, Louisiana. I landed. I didn't get into home until 11. I got into the St. Tammany Parish about 11. Got to my mom's, showered, all this stuff. I sat with my mom, my sister, and my dad. My dad's 83. My mom's 72. My sister's 8 years older than me. And we sat in the living room because I only had just a number of hours with them. So at the end of the day, who cares if you don't sleep? It's your family. We sat in the living room until 4 in the morning.
Wow.
Sipping Brothers Bond. We did 80 proof cask and then rye. Just hanging out, the cats and the dogs, opening the windows. My dad and I walked outside to have a cigar. But sitting with those are your core. That's the nucleus of your entire existence, And talking to them about Brothers Bond and whiskey. And as a poor kid from Louisiana, the reason you know so much about whiskey is because it's culture. And we talked about this before, and I've talked about this publicly a great deal. In the 70s and 80s, I was born in 78, so in early 80s, there was no socioeconomics about whiskey. A guy who was an executive versus a guy who was a blue-collar worker like my dad at a Saints tailgate were drinking the same bourbon. Whereas in the wine world, which I love, there's a vast ocean between a less expensive or cheaper bottle of wine and something that's really refined and older. And so there's that cultural aspect where there was nothing separating us.
Yeah.
And that I loved about whiskey.
And we're still there. I mean, you can you can still get an incredible value.
Totally. You can get incredible value.
Yeah.
And that aspect of it is why I love being in this business. And now, with Kiss the Ground already out, Common Ground is about to shape the entire agricultural system of the United States. I think in the whiskey world now, we're about to open the floodgates of the possibilities of what we did in Statesville, North Carolina with Pete Barger at Southern Distilling. And you're going to start to be able to distill grain. So the grain distilled in our regenerative whiskey is grown within 5 to 15 miles of the distillery. How cool is that?
That's way cool.
These aren't big contract, giant dumps of 18-wheelers.
Right.
With this regenerative whiskey, I can go back and look at the books, and I can tell you where that corn grew, in what field, and what farmer, and he can tell you what the weather was like that year. So what you're able to do now, and not for some crazy astronomical price, we're able to bring in 2 words into the whiskey category that no one talks about: terroir and season. Whereas in the wine world, as you know, that's everything.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I took away from this that really just made my heart so big was when we were talking about the tasting, when I said that sample, and you said, it's interesting, man. It's the nuance of the grain.
It's the nuance of the grain, yeah.
It's grown the way it was grown
100
years ago, 150 years ago. And I think we're, obviously, again, Samuel's family is a behemoth, and it's something to be respected. That whiskey's going to be available in 6 years. This is going to be in market in 6 weeks.
Yeah.
So the idea is to get people talking, to get people excited about the possibility of what American whiskey is going to become when we prioritize and appreciate the farmer, the producers that give us all these grains. They mean something.
But the thing is, in whiskey,
oh man, smell that now.
a little tobacco there.
It's a little bit of that tobacco spice, huh?
In whiskey, the story, the intention with the farmers, all that means absolutely nothing if the whiskey doesn't taste good. And I think that's the hill that every whiskey maker must always climb and It tastes good.
Thank you, brother. Brothers Bond is an American whiskey.
Yeah.
So I'll never be sort of planted in one single distillery ever. And we're just between us, and again, this has never been talked about publicly. We're actually about to build or acquire a distilling facility.
What?
Yeah, it's a big step. The numbers are insane, as you know. The big boy numbers.
Wow.
But we're gonna do it, and we're gonna build an experience around it,
Okay.
as Paul and I really have an ability to do.
Will it be a vampire related? Will there be vampires there?
I mean, if you drink too much, you might see things. Like things might come out of the wall at you. No, but the idea is that we built this brand, and with partners like Southern Distilling, we have the ability now to bring things to market that when people sip this, whether it's a Fred Minnick, or whether it's someone at a bar, or a bar manager, or a bartender, or a chef, or a sous chef, when they taste this, they realize, wait a minute, this is what America was built on, man. America was built on quality. America was built on nature. You know, if you go back and you read, even not to get, too deep or cerebral or political about it, but you go back and you read, like even Thomas Jefferson's journals. This was a man walking up and down the Potomac in 1781 who was looking at this agrarian utopia, and we live in that agrarian utopia. So now let's bring it out together, and let's highlight the people who are doing it like this, like the Southern distillers
I love it.
of the world.
Well, cheers to you, man. Everything you've got cooking.
I grabbed the regenerative glass. I loved it. And I just want to say I'm proud of you and everything that you've done and how much you've embraced this. And I can't wait for this new project. And just thanks so much for coming on for, I think, round 3. This is your 3rd time on the show.
Thanks,
So,
brother. I appreciate
cheers.
you beyond words. Thank you for highlighting this. And what we got to do with Bottled and Bond and with Cask at Ascot is a game changer.
Well, you earned it, my friend. You earned it.
Thank you.
Let's have another drink.